Hi, we're sisters Elaine and Brenda.
Welcome to the Body Wealth Podcast, a space for conversation about the wealth that really matters.
Your best health.
What do you want us to call you?
Call me Lois.
Really? Okay. That's going to be hard for us, but we
Call me Mrs. Roux, it's more comfortable for you. People younger, like my children's age, the way they were raised, they don't feel comfortable calling me by my first name. So
that's how I feel, Elaine. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Welcome, Mrs. Roux. Thank you for being on the Body Wealth Podcast. We're so happy to have you. But before we get started, we'd like to give you a minute to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay. My name is Lois Roux. I'm 85 years old. I'm the mother of 3, the grandmother of 8. I live in just outside of Washington, D.C. in Silver Spring, Maryland. Moved to this area when I graduated from college, got married, got a job, and moved to this area.
Great.
Wow.
Great place to raise your children.
Yes. So glad to have you. We know from our previous conversation that you have been active all your life, and we are very impressed with that. But when did you start your practice? I know as a kid you're always active, but when as an adult did you start deciding that activity was important to you?
I decided after my 3rd child, I wanted to get my waistline back. Never happened, however. So I started, I think it was an exercise program ran by the school where my daughters took ballet lessons. And I moved from that to aerobics. And at some point in time, a few years ago, one of my daughters bought me a Fitbit. So I'm kind of competitive. So I decided I was going to get in my 10,000 steps every day. And for the most part, I do. So I'm active. That's why I got to be active in the first place.
Wow.
Okay, so you said you wanted to get your waist back. So at that time, back when you just had your 3rd child, was there any thought about healthy longevity, old age, any of that? Or it was just
about that? I didn't have a weight problem. I just had what I thought was a waistline problem. Seems like each child gave me another inch on my weight line. You know, I wasn't heavy or anything because I was only 5'1" to begin with.
Yeah, pregnancy does change your body in lots of ways.
Does.
But how did you find time to actually do that when you had young children, especially 3 young children?
It wasn't easy. The first exercise class I took was 1 day a week. And my husband didn't get home early enough, so I'd bring the kids with me and they would just sit in the back.
Yay.
Yeah. And it was basically the same people all the time. So it got to be a social gathering as well. Some of those people have been my friends for the past 30 years.
Nice.
So that makes it fun. I don't feel like I'm exercising. I'm feeling like I'm meeting a group of friends to dance.
Okay. So how many years did you do that? Are you still doing it?
Still doing it. I started out initially 2 days a week. And then there was some special offer. If you joined the 3rd day, you could dance 4 days a week. So I got to the point where I was doing it 4 days a week and it became, a habit, a routine for me. So, and that's what I do now. I do the aerobics 4 days a week and I walk every day.
Fantastic. So what benefits do you see from doing that level of activity?
Well, I think it's contributed to my good health. I have high blood pressure, but I don't have any other health problems. And if I'm careful with what I eat, it helps me keep my weight down as well.
So, you also seem pretty mobile. We saw you walking earlier. It seems like it's also keeping you able to do a lot of things.
Right. Because like I said, what's convenient about where I live, I walk down to the end of my street and there's some steps that lead into Sligo Creek Park. There's a bike path and a walk path, and it's so easy to walk. Not only is it easier just to walk, there are benches along the way. So I bring my phone, I bring water, and I stop and have a drink and talk on the phone. And over the years, I see basically a lot of the same people.
Okay.
So my children call them my park friends.
How far do you generally go then on your daily walks?
It depends. I've increased the distances as I've been walking. I usually end up doing a total of 4 miles, a little more than 4 miles a day.
Wow. That's
Weather,
impressive.
it's cold out. Does that stop you?
The cold doesn't bother me. I just put on, extra layer of clothes. In fact, I have ski pants that I wear when it's really cold. The only thing that stops me is ice and snow
okay.
because they don't clean the paw. So when it's snow on the ground, they do a pretty decent job in this neighborhood. I'll just walk in my neighborhood and walk on the streets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So obviously this movement is really important to you. Do you feel different? Do you notice if you don't do it for some reason?
I know me. I know that if I stop for any significant length of time, I won't go back. So I make sure no matter, even if I don't feel up to it, I'll go out.
Habits are real.
Yes.
Creating habits.
Yeah.
I find that with my eating. When I'm eating well, I can stay on the plan. But if I get off the plan, it's very hard to get back to eating well again.
The problem with, eating well, you have to just continue to do it. You can't, like every now and then, back in the day, I gained a few pounds. I'd go on some little crazy diet and lose it. But it became harder and harder. It seemed like I gained the weight back faster and it became harder and harder to lose it. So I decided just to be super careful about what I eat. I need a little extra fat in case I fall down. So
yeah,
I'm careful. At least I try to eat healthily.
So who are you competing with when you said on your Fitbit you're competitive?
Well, every now and then somebody will start I can't remember what kind of competition to see who can do
a challenge or something.
Challenge, challenge, yeah. So usually it's my daughters, and one of my granddaughters got into it one time.
So besides aerobics and walking and eating right, what else do you do to try to stay healthy?
All right. I try to keep my mind active. I read a lot. I've always been a reader since as a young child. I belong to a book club, which not only fosters my mental ability, it's a social gathering. We get together once a month. We call books and brunch, and we have food and discuss.
Nice.
I like crossword puzzles. I do the crossword puzzle in the newspaper every day.
Oh, good.
I do Wordle. What else?
Your days are full, it sounds like.
For the most part, I try to keep active because if you're not active, you're just sitting on your rear end watching TV or something. So I try to keep my mind and my body active.
Well, and I think what you mentioned is a lot of things that you do are social. And I think that's important too, having the communication and connection with other people.
Yeah. The thing that's been, not now, but the thing that was, I think the worst thing that's ever happened, not just to me, was COVID. Everything came to a screeching halt. You couldn't go any place. You couldn't see people. It was horrible. So
did you have a bubble? Like, did you keep your children in a bubble so you were still seeing them, or you just saw nobody for years?
My husband was still alive. I'm dealing with him. He had dementia, so he didn't quite understand the whole COVID thing. When the kids would come over and they didn't come in, he would say, "I'm not sick and you're not sick. Why can't you come in?" It was really, really hectic.
That had to be really challenging. So you're,
oh my God, yeah,
caring for a husband with dementia,
right?
And you're stuck at home with no help because nobody can come in because of COVID.
So that's what gave me incentive to walk every day because I could leave him for a little while.
Okay.
I felt comfortable leaving him for like an hour. So I made sure I got out each and every day because I needed it for my own mental health. And
that's so good that you continue to prioritize yourself because you're right. You can't help anyone else when you
take care of somebody if you're ailing yourself. A lot of times the caretakers are the ones that ended up going first because
that is very true.
Yes.
I know many cases where that's the case. Well, so you're physically active, you're mentally active, and you're social. So, and you look great. Your doctors are all happy with where you are.
I guess they are. I have much faith in, even though I was married to a doctor in the medical field, because they treat you like a number. They assume that because you're this age or this sex or this race, you have these symptoms or you're going to have these symptoms. It's not personalized enough for me.
Hmm.
And I think what else is in my favor, and something I had absolutely nothing to do with it, is heredity. Like my father had at least two of his sisters live to be 100.
Wow.
Okay.
And
Good genes are
yeah, so
important.
that helps. That helps. Yeah. So one thing he gave me.
So no ailments at all. That's the
I have
only.
high blood pressure. That's about it. Yeah.
Right.
I have some aches and pains, but that's, I think, because of age. I have a little arthritis in
Mhm.
my hand. I think that came about one day I was walking and I tripped. And instead of just falling down gently, I put my hand down to stop the fall. And I ended up injuring my shoulder and my hand. Now, the shoulder's better now. The hand bothers me a little bit. But, it's not that I'm in pain all the time. So I just rub a little cream on it and forget about it. Move
Keep
on.
getting up.
You know what else I do, which I think is important for everybody? Drink a lot of water. Stay hydrated. I think that's very important as well.
Okay. Thank you for the reminder.
I used to get leg cramps at one time at nighttime after I went to bed. And I mentioned it to the doctor and he said it might be dehydration. So drink some water before you go to sleep. Now, the problem with that is I'll drink a couple of glasses of water, but I have to get up during the night. But
Yeah, we knew what you were going to say.
Yeah, because we do too.
That has just become part of my life. I expect it,
it doesn't bother me. I just get
Yeah.
up, in the bathroom, come back, and go back to sleep.
Go right back to sleep. Yep. How much sleep? We're using you for all the advice because we want to age healthfully like you. So how much sleep do you get a night?
I get between 7 and 8 hours. It
Okay.
depends. I'm a worrywart. So if I've got something on my mind as I'm going to bed, I won't sleep as well as I would if I don't have anything happening the next day that I'm concerned about.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you weren't worried about being with us.
Worried about me being able to do this.
It's wonderful. We're just so happy to have you.
So you have two daughters, you did say. Do they both live in town with you?
Well, I have a total of 3 children.
Oh, okay.
I have 2 daughters and a son. The son is the dreaded middle child.
Yeah.
But all of my children live in Silver Spring. Well, Bridget's Kensington, but all of them, they're all close.
Lucky you.
In fact, my son lives right near the park. So if I'm going over to his house and it's during the day, I'll walk there. And then somebody will bring me home if it's after dark. But
yeah.
it's
Wow,
great.
that's a real blessing.
All of my grandchildren grew up here, so it's great to have family around. Yeah.
Oh,
You're making Elaine's heart.
I am. My children, none of them live here, and one with my one grandchild lives in California, and I live in North Carolina. So I've been burning up the air miles for sure.
And that's something else you couldn't really do during COVID was travel, which was horrible.
Right.
I used to travel a lot when I was a little bit younger, but I don't do that anymore.
You have so much sage advice, which you've already given. But if someone were to ask you, a young Black woman who is just starting with a family and everything, what kind of advice would you give her about prioritizing her own health?
Prioritize your own health, because if you're not healthy, you can't take care of your children or your spouse.
And how do you do it, though? We all know it, but
you have to make time. Well, I didn't do very much when my kids were very little because I didn't have the time or the energy. I was too busy getting them to and from school, getting them to whatever lessons they were taking. I would get in the car in the evening and just run up and down.
Right. Georgia Avenue.
They're dropping that one off there. So it's hard when you have school-age children, but you have to do the best you can.
Right. And know to get back to it as soon as you can, right?
Right.
When you have the opportunity. Wow.
That's what I think the freedom of aging. I mean, it's so many, commercials and everything sort of makes us dread aging. But this is one of the happiest periods of my life.
You're so much freer. You don't have to day-to-day worry.
I mean, if we look for it, there's plenty of things for all of us to worry about. So part of, trying to stay healthy is to find a way to sort of know that those things are out there, but have some faith, I guess,
Right.
and live without that worry, because the stress weighs on your body as
Yeah,
well.
it really does.
We have two final questions that we're asking everybody
Okay.
this season. So I'll ask the first one. How do you think, or even do you think, that being a Black woman has impacted your experience?
I think being a Black woman, especially one of my age, my generation, people tend to assume certain things about you, overlook you. I think your health, depending on what kind of doctor you see, people make assumptions about your health. They assume that you're diabetic or you're this, that, or the other, because that's the kinds of things that Black people have. My recommendation is you see either a Black doctor or a doctor who's been trained to work among Black people, because they know the Black health problems better than some other folks.
Have you been able to find that?
Oh, I did. It was easy when my husband was alive. He was the medical director at Howard.
Oh, yeah.
So I had, access to all kinds of Black doctors, but I do have a doctor now that I like, but he sometimes refers me to other people who are not Black, but anyway. But since my health is generally good, I don't see a lot of doctors, period, anyway. So
Good. What would you need from your medical provider to feel well cared for?
I would need a plan or path of advice that is tailored to me.
Amen.
My age, my level of activity, whatever health concerns I have, my past medical history, something that's more personalized. Just saying, oh, you're doing okay, because most people your age do this or have that. I want something that's designed for me specifically. That's what I would want to have.
And how do you think doctors can do that? What do they need to be able to do that?
When you visit them, just don't take your blood pressure and whatever. Just talk to you, ask you about things, ask you about your health. Like when I go to see my doctor, you see these, and I love him for this. He's helping to train other young doctors, but these are, they don't know that much. They come in and ask you the same questions over and over again. And then he just comes in and gives a little tap on the head. Well, you're doing fine today. Bye.
And your insurance pays $500 for the pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had more illnesses, I'd get better, what I would think would be better service. But since I'm healthy, I guess if the doctors feel they don't have to waste their time with me. So that's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah.
Major health issues.
That's good. Well, I hope it stays that way. I'm knocking on some wood.
Well, this has really been a pleasure.
Well, it's been my pleasure to help in any way that I can.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And if you want to tell all your friends to subscribe to Body Well, do that.
I will.
That will be also helpful.
One other thing.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I forgot to mention, and I think it's important to me. I drink wine. That helps contribute to my general health. Probably wouldn't think so, but I consider myself a wino.
What kind of wine? A wino. What kind of wine and how often?
I'm a certified wino because one time I took a class, I think it was issued through the county, and at the end of the class they gave you a little certificate. So I have my little certificate.
Oh, okay. And she's official.
Yeah, it's official. I like white wines primarily.
Okay.
Well, I think finding things that give you joy, and we always remember everything in moderation, right?
Right,
So
moderation,
that
won't hurt you.
I enjoy wine as well. So
yeah, me too. It seems like you have a rich social life. You have the book club and going out to dinner and all your family very close.
It helps having family because we get together, of course, for all holidays and birthdays, and it's always a graduation or something going on with one of the kids.
So what do we have to do to persuade our adult children to live in our neighborhood?
It's just worked out that way. I don't know.
Just luck. Thank you, Mrs. Roux. It's such a delight to talk to you.
I'm talking to you guys too.
Okay. Have a great afternoon.
Have a great
You too.
afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks for listening. Want to hear our take on this conversation? Check out our After the Show episode right here. For resources related to today's topic, see the show notes.
If you want to support Body Wealth, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We'd also love it if you give us a 5-star rating and write a review letting us know what you love about the show.
The Body Wealth podcast shares personal stories to inspire you. It does not constitute medical advice. For that, we encourage you to work with a trusted healthcare provider. We also want to remind you that the views expressed by our guests are their own.
This podcast is dedicated to our mother, Jean Fernandez Barbour, who showed us what advocating for yourself really looks like.